Good morning. Welcome to Hometown Heroes. I'm Rick Irving with my co-host Mary Staffeld, and today we have a relatively new friend, Trent Davis. And if he doesn't tell you, I'll tell you. He's a United States Marine veteran. So, Trent, welcome to Hometown Heroes.
Well, thank you. And as my wife says, how do you know somebody's a Marine? They're going to let you know.
That's right.
You're never quiet about it. Marines definitely tell you.
That's kind of what we do. That's kind of what we do.
That's one thing I learned early in life with my dad being a United States Marine. He said, don't ever ask a man if he's a Marine, because if he isn't, you'll embarrass him. And if he is, he's going to tell you.
Exactly.
So, Trent, you are a resident now of Texas. You've moved around the country and the world with the Marines. And where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Houston. I went to high school there. After high school, so I played football. I played all sports, but I played football and decided that I was going to go to Stephen F. Austin and walk on and play football. Got there and figured out I wasn't quite as good as I thought I was. And then here comes the Marines that January. So that was one semester. Then I went to the Marine Corps in January and ended up going to, I'm a Hollywood kid and infantry training school. Then I was in the 1-5. I did a year. Then I went to 8541 Scout Sniper and ended up getting positioned with a weapons company as a forward observer. So I kind of like that because I kind of did my own thing. But we were basically a stay platoon, which, surveillance and target acquisition platoon. It's different now. They've changed a lot with the way they do snipers. You're in recon now. Back then it was not. We were kind of our own little gig, which was a lot nicer because we didn't have a lot of people to answer to except for the big guys. And it was fun. I did a float on the Bella Wood, the USS Bella Wood. And I talked to my son who's in the Marine Corps now about how when you mention something like that, it really ages you because they decommissioned the Bella Wood in like 2000. So like, it kind of hangs that age moniker around your neck. But I enjoyed every minute of the Marine Corps. And I didn't think I did anything different. Growing up, I coached my kids in football, baseball, everything they did. I was their coach. I was involved. And right now, my son is in the Marine Corps. His best friend's in the Marine Corps, and 3 other kids I coached as they were growing up are in the Marine Corps. So I guess I set somewhat of a decent example to them because they followed in my footsteps, and it makes me really proud.
That's great. Tell us just a little bit about history. And you were on the Bella Wood, and the Bella Wood, that was a battle in World War I, wasn't it?
That's where we earned the name Devil Dogs.
Okay.
So the Germans were so frightened by the fact that the Marines kept coming at them no matter what. They named them Teufelhunden, which is devil dog. So that's where that name came. And it's one of the many nicknames we have for Marines. Some of them we can't mention on. It depends on who's saying them, right?
How long were you on that ship?
6.5 months.
Okay.
So the usual role for like a stay like that is going to be 7 months. 7 months is the maintenance time for Navy carriers. That's when they go back in and kind of get their little tune-ups and check out. So it's usually a 7-month role on a float like that. We were in the Pacific, so the Pacific Fleet.
Okay. And during your career, how long did you stay in the Marines?
I was in for a total of 6 years.
Okay.
So I was 4 active and then two reserve. And when I hit the reserves, I had just gone IRR, and is when Desert Storm happened. And so they're like, guess what? And
you're coming back.
Yeah, they pulled us, and we went immediately to California to plan and train. And we were there for about 3.5 weeks, and it was all over.
It wasn't take long, did it?
Yeah, it didn't. That one was a blow through. It didn't take long. So a little different than the ones we had going on the last 25 years.
after you got out of the Marines, did you come back to Texas?
Yeah. So I came back to Texas initially. I took a job. I worked in St. Louis for Fidelity Mutual Funds for about a year. And then I came back to Texas, and I was a derivatives crude oil broker for 20 years and just loved it. It was a good life. And about 2010 is whenever let's say the whole online trading started taking over and started cutting into our things. So I decided to go a different direction and, did a few things. Right now, one of my Marine Corps buddies and I own a construction company called Trinity Construction Services, I'm sorry. And we're in the DFW area. And so we kind of do our thing together and enjoy, and we run into military people all the time.
What kind of construction you do?
So we do everything from residential to commercial. We do, a lot of concrete fences. Anything that you need built, we will do it. Our sweet spot in commercial is going to be concrete, roofing, and framing and drywall, and we do everything from ground up on home construction.
Wow!
So we're veteran owned, disabled veteran owned, and VA certified.
That's great. And what caused you to join the Marines? I'm going to back up a little bit, but why did you choose the Marines?
Yeah, so I had a good friend of mine that we grew up from. Basically, as long as we could remember, we were friends from 3 years old on, and we were going into our senior year, and it was right before Christmas of our senior year of high school, and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I signed up to go in the Marine Corps," and I was like, "Oh man." And I already made my plans to go to college to try this football thing. And he left October 1st of that year while I was in there playing football. And he got out of boot camp like right before Christmas. And when I got back from my semester in college, he took me, we went together to the recruiter so he could get me signed up. He got his Lance Corporal because of me.
What a deal.
Yeah.
And then,
there was never, I had an uncle that was in the Marine Corps during Korea. And a lot of my family is Navy. My nephew went to West Point and he played football there from 2012 to 2016 and did his time as an officer. And he went to Columbia Law School. He's now an attorney. And then my wife is Army. So we have the constant battle here at our house about Army versus Marine Corps.
I can't imagine.
She always wins.
Yeah, I met Trent and his wife Juliet just about a week and a half ago, I guess, at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo International Wine Competition. And so as Trent and I were talking, his wife was on the other side of the exhibit hall. And he said, "Did you see that lady over there? Go tell her that badass Marine over there at the door is giving you a hard time about being in the Army." And so I just walked over. There's a group of ladies, and I said, "There's a badass Marine over there giving me a hard time about being in the Army." And she perked up. She said, "That's my husband." But Juliet, she was a linguist in the Army. And it's quite interesting on why she chose the language that she chose.
It is definitely interesting. So she grew up in New Jersey, never went anywhere. And so she decided, I'm going into the Army. So she took the ASVAB and they came to her and said, "Hey, would you like to be a linguist?" And she's like, "Oh, what does that mean?" And they kind of explained it to her. And she's like, "Well, where would I go?" And they said, "Monterey, California." And she's like, "Okay." And they're like, "Well, what language do you want?" She said, "Which one keeps me there the longest?" And they said, "Either Chinese or Russian." She goes, "I'll take Russian." So she was there for just over a year learning Russian, and she still speaks it to this day.
Does she?
The language schools are really long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's the way they use them sometime, you don't think about that. I had a friend that was, he's learned Vietnamese, and all he would do during the Vietnam War was listen to this radio traffic with their supply chain, because if he started hearing that, hey, they needed this many bags of rice or something, there was going to be a whole bunch of troops out there, or I guess they used toilet paper, but if they had 1,000 rolls of toilet paper, they knew the place it was going would have a lot of people. So you don't think about our linguists doing that. You think about them sitting there doing translations for other people and things like that.
Well, Juliet was telling me she read a lot of documents and she listened to some phone calls, but mostly it was reading documents and kind of listening in on stuff. Because we were Cold War time, it's kind of the end of the Cold War, so there was still, we need to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of in a Cold War now. It seems like
we're in a Cold War with a lot more people than just one, though. Unfortunately,
yeah. For sure.
And so, whenever you moved back to Texas, did you settle in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
No. So I initially went back to the Houston area, and my first wife and I got married, and both of our kids were born in Houston. They attended Stratford High School in west side of Houston, and about the time my son was going into high school is whenever I moved. I lived in Troop. I don't know if you know where Troop is, but Troop is about 20 miles southeast of Tyler. And it's a small town and it's the middle of nowhere, but it just happened to be right in the area of the territory that I was covering for my job. I just looked at the dead center, and I was going to go to Tyler, but I found a nice house in Troop. And so I lived there. And then after that, I lived in Weatherford for a while, and I've been in Keller for almost 3.5 years now.
Now, I know where Troop is because I do a lot of amateur boxing, and there's a little boxing gym that comes. They bring up some pretty tough guys and girls to the Golden Gloves every year from Troop. So,
oh yeah,
a lot of East Texas. Those East Texas kids are pretty tough.
Yeah, they are. It's a cool area to live. It's pretty chilled, not much crime. Just kind of do your own thing. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. It's what it's expected.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword right there.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. And when did you start becoming involved with veterans and veteran organizations?
So, just like anybody else, I went through I'm out of the military. I don't want anything to do with anything right now. That kind of decompression time. And, I got involved with another Marine Corps buddy of mine. He started a company, a nonprofit called Future Operations Base. And his idea was, when you're on base and it's kind of like a hobby hut where if you wanted to go work on your car or you wanted to go build something, they have these little areas that have all the tools and you can go work in that area. And so his idea was, let's do that here and get veterans together doing it. And so we got together and did that. And it was in the Houston area, and we had a warehouse, and we'd have all kind of clinics on how to build this and how to build that. And then we had female veterans on how to maintenance your car. I mean, it was going fantastic. And then I moved away and he got busy and that kind of dropped. But at the same time, I got into the Marine Corps League. This was about 2011 when I first joined the Marine Corps League, and I started in Katy, Texas. And when I was in Katy, I was a commandant. I ended up being commandant of Katy. And after that, I moved a little bit further, like northwest to the Cypress area. So I was a little far. And Charles Inman, who was the commandant of Texas, talked me into starting a Cypress chapter or a Cypress detachment. So I started the Cypress detachment and was commandant there. And once I moved up here, I joined the Cowtown Marine Corps League, which encompasses the Fort Worth. Basically, it's Fort Worth. And now I'm commandant there. So I did find out I am the only person in Texas that's been commandant of 3 different detachments. Because usually you stay there and you live, but me, I'm on the move all the time. So it changes.
The Cowtown Detachment, how long have they been in existence?
It's so they're pretty recent. I want to say it's been about 6 years since they started, and there's other detachments. There's like within the DFW area, there's about 7 different detachments. There's like Collin County, Denton, Dallas, South Dallas. So there's a few of them, but this group was tired of going to Denton, and so they decided to start their own 6 years ago. And it was Patrick Murray, and then Rose. Y'all know Rose.
Yeah, Rose Conright.
Yeah, she was one of the founders of it as well, and so she is still very involved, and she's very involved statewide. She's the judge advocate for the state of Texas for the Marine Corps League now. So when I came in, I just became commandant a couple months ago, and she was so happy that somebody would finally take the reins from her because she was doing double duty. She was getting worn out. So, and I have experience, and we've got some guys that are coming up through the ranks in the Marine Corps League there that are going to be prepared to take leadership roles soon. So I figured I'll step in and kind of help us get a kickstart to get them ready, and prepare them for their next step.
And I think that's an important part of leadership, and that's something Mary talks about often, is always be training your replacement. And that way you can have consistency, and you don't lose a lot by bringing somebody in that knows nothing. So
yeah, if you keep the communication lines open to everyone, then everybody knows what's going on. And when I took over Katie, it was kind of like a hush hush thing, and I made it where everybody knew what was going on, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to be involved. So I mean, there's a lot to be said about like making sure everybody knows if you have to step in here, what you need to do, and this is how you do it, instead of, oh, we'll teach you when we need to, which is
well, then you have a single point of failure.
Exactly.
And that's not good for an organization. That's a killer for an organization.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just like, any kind of leadership when you're enlisted, or, you need to make sure the guy that's ranked below you knows exactly what you do in case you go down or something else happens. So you're constantly bringing people up to your level instead of holding them down so you could be their boss.
Yeah. And I was at the Cowtown Detachment, I guess the night that they became a detachment. I went there to take pictures for Patrick, and then I kind of joined as a auxiliary person.
Mm-hmm.
I did that. I didn't go to very many meetings after that, but just got I just got pretty busy.
We need to get unbusy. So here's your opportunity, Rick. So November the 4th, which is next Tuesday, and in lieu of our meeting, we are meeting at the Saltgrass, and it's at 5845 Sandshell Drive. It's the Saltgrass in Fossil Creek for a Marine Corps birthday party. So that's at 7 o'clock on next Tuesday the 4th. Guys that are coming, and we normally have our meetings on Tuesdays, but we're voiding our meeting to have the party instead. So we're gonna have a cake, and we're gonna have the cake cutting. We're gonna do it as official as possible. This year, there's going to be so many Marine Corps birthdays, things going on because it's 250.
Well, I think they've been celebrating since November 11th last year. This birthday, because they've been having parties for months.
Well, and that's what we do. We were born in a bar, but we were. I know that one, and then the 9th at the American Legion in Haltom City. There's going to be a party. On the 10th, there's going to be a party in Keller at one of the bars there. And then that next weekend, so my son, who's in the Marine Corps, he's in the Mounted Color Guard. They're having their ball on the 14th of November on the Queen Mary, which is in Long Beach, which is docked in Long Beach. And my wife and I are going to go out to that one because we've never been to a ball with him since he's been in the Marine Corps. So we thought this is the one to go to because it's at the Queen Mary.
Oh, very.
That's going to be nice.
Yeah,
There's supposed to be one here in the area that's on the 14th too. I need to reach back out to the Marine in charge of it because he said he'd send me some information to get Don to that one. Since Don has got Judge Carr is doing one on I want to say it's on the 5th at lunchtime at the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, and Judge Carr's been doing that for years. He does a little celebration, so it's during the day. There, like you said, they're everywhere, multiples, different events going on for the Marines.
Yeah, and everybody wants Don.
Yes, and everybody does, but Don's going to be in Washington, D.C. from the 6th through the 9th for the American Veterans Conference.
Nice.
So he'll be speaking at that.
Are you with them on that one, or is Kelly
No,
going?
Dana's going to go with him on that. I have too much going on with grandkids and other things with roll call. I've got we'll have veterans at Wayside all day on the 6th.
Mhm.
We've just got, we don't have Veterans Day at roll call. We have the first 2 weeks of November is Veterans Weeks, with us getting veterans out to speak everywhere.
Well,
So I'm still getting requests, people wanting either a speaker or they want a vet to come do a pinning at their assisted living place. I'm like, stop.
Yeah. Well, I will throw this in here. So I've been trying to go to roll call for probably the last year. I finally went this past Friday, and I'll never miss it again. It was fantastic.
Oh, I'm glad.
And for anybody that's a veteran that doesn't go, you should try. You gotta be quick, but but try to go, because it was really enjoyable talking to a lot of those guys and just being at the table with some of those guys. You would never run across them in life, but in that event, everybody's a brother or sister, and it makes it really fun.
Yeah,
And
we like to say we're one big family.
Yeah, exactly.
The way it is now, there's a pretty good rotation of people. So you'll go to one meeting, and the guys that couldn't get reservations made, they're going to jump in the next month. They'll be there. So you'll see a whole different group of people.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised because I got the link that morning, and I was just like, oh, I'll go ahead and do mine. And then by the end of the day, it was almost full. I mean, there was none left.
Yeah, 480 seats gone in less than 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's one of those deals. It'd be nice to be able to host 800 or 1,000 every month.
Oh, no.
Then you have to have a room, and then you have to have a lot more money. But once a year, we have at NASJRB, we have roll call in the hangar, and usually we have 700, 800 at that meeting every year. So,
yeah.
Yeah, if you make room for them, they will come. I can tell you that. There's no doubt. Y'all have developed such a good program with that. I mean, I'm sure it's grown leaps and bounds from what y'all expected.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of gives you that at the beginning with the posting, the colors, the anthem, the pledge, the prayer. It kind of gives you that connection back to your military, which, I think, to your point you said earlier, when you first leave, you just want to I'm done with that. But in our hearts, we're never done with that. And we crave the opportunity to reconnect with our military background and our roots. We want what we have there. So that's why we try to be prompt, start at 11:30. We try to do all the things that you would do in a normal situation. But then we also want people to relax a little and just, we're not officers and enlisted. We're not separated by branch. We're just brothers and sisters in arms that come together and tease each other and joke and cry and laugh and all of the emotions that you can imagine, because everybody comes in there with their story.
Well, and I think that's what makes, getting involved with these veteran organizations so good, because people, a lot of times, they don't realize that's what they miss: the brotherhood, somebody that stood on the same yellow footprints that you did, someone that went to the same, fort at boot camp that you guys did, or, just having that just instant connection with somebody that you don't even know is a cool feeling. And that's why people, once they get involved, they stay involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mary and I, I think we both kind of got involved about 2017.
Yep.
Mary was still active duty, and I just retired from Lockheed. And we've seen it grow, but then over the years, we've seen so many of our older veterans die. And, it just leaves a big hole in your heart because you see these guys that were in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and being the photographer all those years, I've got thousands and thousands of pictures, and I'll go through them occasionally, or one will pop up, and I'll think, man, he died, and no longer with us. And that's the sad part, but then it's good because their families see the impact that roll call had on their loved ones. And so even their families, we have family members who lost their fathers or, aunts or uncles still come to roll call because they became a member of the family. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I do the same, Rick. I every time I see one of those photos and I'm like, oh my goodness. You look at that original photo of the original 15 and think Jack Dye, who just turned 100 in August, he's the last of them left. And it's hard, but it's the nature of the beast, and we know it, and that's why we try to remember to celebrate them at the luncheon too, because we don't want to forget.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that, like at the beginning when you first came up, Mary, you had brought the guys on the screen and talked about them. That's kind of a cool way to kind of farewell for everybody, because some people don't keep up, don't know.
Right.
And like, oh, I remember him now, by seeing the picture. Yeah,
right. That's why the pictures are so important, because when you have a room of 500 people, it's hard for me. I try, and I don't know everybody's names, but I'm trying real hard to remember all the names. But to Rick's point, then we add 20, 30, sometimes 40 new people a month. And so I'm constantly trying, and it's hard. I'm 65 years old. My memory ain't so good anymore, but we do our best to try to remember, to never forget.
Absolutely.
And at roll call, over the past 8 years that I've been going to it, I've experienced something that I never experienced before I went to roll call, and that was attending birthday parties for people turning 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, because we've got a lot of guys and men and women both that were in World War II and Vietnam and Korea that have lived to be 100 or older. One of our veterans was World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And that's a big span of 3 wars.
Actually, 3 of them.
3 of them?
So Ray Doss, John Wilhite, and Charlie Braun. And Ray Doss and Charlie Braun were both at this last luncheon. Yep. Charlie, I think Charlie just turned 100 I want to say in September. And I think Ray is 99. And Ray's got an interesting story himself. So it's always fun to talk to them. But John Wilhite wasn't there. And I think John just turned 102, but he had a funeral to go to. He still drives. He's still he doesn't, I don't think he even uses a cane. He's like a machine. He back in the day, when he'd go to different bases as a pilot, he would say, hey, I want to fly that. And they just let him go fly it. He flew 47 different aircraft.
My goodness.
It's crazy. But Vern Mitchell was at the luncheon, this last one. He's our last European theater guy that was actually there in the European theater. John was kind of all over the place because he was flying stuff all over. So he was kind of everywhere. But Vern is 104.
Wow.
Still getting around pretty good.
They're amazing. You saw Mel Summerall. He just turned 100. Last couple of times he came to the lunch. He comes from Denton to the lunch. And the last couple of times he was actually in a wheelchair. And this time he just turned 100. He came walking in by himself with his walker. So his physical therapy is going great. And he's a Marine, so that must be why, right?
I'm sure it is.
Some of those Marines, the older they get a little hard to handle sometimes. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
about Bill Schott. Whenever you had Bill Schott, he was an Iwo Jima survivor, like Don Graves, and he passed away several years ago. But you have those two guys together. Oh my gosh, the women have to be protected.
Well,
We were doing a Veterans Day event at a middle school, and I was in the teachers' lounge with some teachers and with Bill Schott, and there was this little teacher. She was probably 24, 25, and Bill was all over her. And I told her, I said, this is the difference between an old veteran like Bill and a young veteran like me. If I did this, I
right.
would, the police would be called. I would be escorted off the property and never get to come back.
well, from what I've seen with these old veterans, once you hit 100, you got a ticket to do whatever you want.
That's
And say whatever you want, because they all kind of like, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. I'm here. I'm
and
going to do what I want to do.
that's true about saying stuff, because sometimes they'll start saying stuff and you're like, shouldn't say that, but they've earned the right. So
Yeah. And you're not going to stop them anyway. I found that with the Don. You just got to let him go, because he's going to say it. If you try to stop him, it just makes it look worse. Just let him go.
And all the stuff he says, I've never heard Don be completely disrespectful. Now he'll tell you how he feels, but he's not disrespectful in
Right,
doing it. He's
that's
just giving
true.
you his opinion. You may not like it, but he's going to say it.
That's
I
right.
guess his time as a preacher, he learned how to step on toes without people getting mad. So, but we were at an organization one time, and it was for post-traumatic stress. And he got up there and said, "I don't know what you guys are talking about. We were tough. We didn't have that. We call it battle fatigue, or And I thought,
Shell
"No,
shock.
you had you."
Yeah,
you
he
had-
had it. Yeah,
My
he
dad had
definitely
that,
had it. Yeah. Just called a different name.
and it's too bad that they didn't have that diagnosis whenever our World War II guys were coming back from war, because so many of them had it.
Mhm.
Well, and then there's no real statistics like they have now of what ends up happening with these guys. Like they're, now that, they have the tracking to know exactly how many did this and how many are on medications. And back then it was like, oh, here you go. You'll be fine. Just go back to work, do whatever.
Yeah.
And they just kind of push through it. He's right in what he's saying, but it shouldn't have been that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just had to tough it out. And even, so many things have changed since World War II and Korea and Vietnam, even with the Gold Star families. Back then, World War II, they didn't have any kind of support like we had.
Mm-mm.
In Korea, they didn't have the support. In Vietnam, had a little bit of support, but not like we have now, to really go in and help those families and take care of the children. But, we've learned along the way that I think it was that movie, We Were Soldiers, where they were just bringing the telegram guy was just delivering all these telegrams. It wasn't the people coming up there to the door to talk to people. So
Yeah, there were just too many of them. But I think the one thing that changed people's outlook, or just the way they coddle and help families like that, is 9/11, because us getting attacked on our soil and sending all these younger kids out to fight for us, everybody's perspective changed, because Vietnam, they didn't treat you guys like they should have.
Yep.
But this, all of a sudden, we got attacked, and now these guys are going to protect us, and everything's changed. It's changed for everybody, because now you even, when you go to events and stuff, a lot of times they are veterans and first responders, because people also looked at first responders of how much they did at 9/11 and how many they lost by just running in trying to help people. So it was a good change, but it was awful the way it happened.
Right.
And we have one of our first responders, John, sidekick on 99% radio show, and he's telling us good morning, and then he says that heroes are built strong, and then wishing happy birthday to our heroes. And then while we're talking to Don, he said that Don finds his healing in all he does for the community. So that's some good words, John.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was on John's program a couple weeks ago. It was so much fun.
It's a good experience. I've
It is.
known John for several years and follow him around. We show up at a lot of different events, and he's a good guy. One thing I did see that I never had seen anybody do before, we were having a benefit, and there was a car wash over in Mesquite that was kind of hosting this benefit, and John and one of his other guys, they walked through the car wash while it was going.
Oh my.
They had goggles and thinking, man, that's got to be yucky with all that wax and
Well,
salt.
it has to hurt.
Yeah. But he's a character, but he
is a character.
He does a lot of great things
Good.
for our first responders and for our veterans.
Well, Rick, how long have you been involved with the rodeo?
I've been involved about 4 or 5 years, and I have to thank my grandson, Sterling, the world's greatest grandson named Sterling, because one night I went there for military night, and I was going to have to go take pictures on the dirt, and Ashley Davis was the one. She's the event coordinator for the stock show, and so I brought Sterling with me. He was about 6 or 7, and she said he can't go down there, and she said I'll just keep him with me. So I did, and she kind of fell in love with him. And it was 4 years ago, I get a call from them. They said we had gone out to Defender Outdoors Clay Sport Ranch to schedule an event and ask them who the photographer was, and they said Rick Irving. She said I know Sterling, so she called me, and I started doing events for them. So it's been a really rewarding thing to be involved with a stock show, because I started going to the stock show about 72 years ago as a little baby, and then I lived just 5 or 6 blocks from the stock show. So as I got a little older, 10 or 11 years old, I just walked down there and go to the stock show. And my uncle gave me some good advice. He said, Rick, in front of the Coliseum, where that fence is, if you walk all the way down to the end, there's a hole, and you can crawl under there and not have to pay. And so I went down there one day and walked down the fence line in the bushes, and there was a hole. So I got in free. I probably owed some admission for several of those years. But
oh my!
We just completed the International Wine Competition, which is a closed event, and it's a very serious event. They had a little under 700 different bottles of wine, different brands and different flavors that the judges made their judgment on. And tomorrow, I think, is when they're going to announce the grand champion and all the other winners. So
I saw that email come through. Yeah, I enjoyed, we volunteered there because Juliet is a wine. She loves wine, everything about wine. So she's like, let's volunteer for that. And I ended up washing glasses and pouring wine into buckets and cleaning everything up. But I had the best time, because it's just, the Fort Worth volunteer group is just such a good group of people. And it's so small compared to other rodeos in Texas. And it's just a nice, tight-knit group. And so this year we're trying to really push the Veteran Appreciation Day. So last year, with me being involved with the Mounted Color Guard when they were there, I was there to help them every day. I ended up being voluntold that I am now the chairman of the Military Affairs Committee. so
Oh,
so we're working on making that a better event. We have a bunch of vendors there for this year. Military IDs get in the stock show for free that day, or military ID, veteran IDs, whatever. And the rodeo, I believe, is sold out itself. But just to be on the grounds that day, there's going to be so many things going on for veterans, and it's Monday, February 2nd this year. So it's going to be a great day. It always is, and it's not the only day that the rodeo looks out for veterans. Most of the days they try to get one down there to either do the Pledge of Allegiance or do something. So they're Fort Worth. The rodeo knows where they are, next to the base. This is a huge veteran community, and so they try to engage all of them the best we can.
And we've seen the military expo really grow. Our friend Manny Ramirez, the Tarrant County commissioner, he's been sponsoring that and doing a great job. I was with Manny yesterday talking about you being on the show today, so he's excited about that. And I don't know how many different vendors we had last year, but
phew, I had to be 30 or at least
Yeah.
maybe even 40 or 50. It was packed.
And
it's going to be packed again this year. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody that came immediately wanted to come back. So
Yeah. And Daiquiri Devers works her butt off on that. She is.
I mean, all those ladies that are like staff members for the Fort Worth Rodeo, they go over and beyond. Ashley, Rose, you name them. Even Matt's involved with what can we do to make it better? What can we do? That's all they focus on, is how can we make it better for the veteran community? And that's what we talk about all the time.
You talk about the people in office like Matt Carter and Rose and Ashley. All the events, some of them have been huge events. They all pitch in, and the leadership. I was telling Matt last week. I said, "You're like that movie We Were Soldiers. You're the first foot on the ground and the last foot off the ground." Because whenever we have the clay shoot, we have about 250 or 300 young people out there competing for prizes, and they have to be there at 6, and we aren't finished until about 10:30 or 11. But Matt and before him, Brad, they were constantly working, and you don't see them just sitting making an appearance. And another person that I was really impressed with, on Friday night before the competition, we had a reception for the judges, and Phil Williamson, the chairman of the board, he was there, and he didn't just walk in and say hi. He stayed the entire 2 hours, and he was engaged with all those judges. I mean, he wasn't just there for an appearance. So my hat's off to all the people that work for the stock show.
Well, you're never going to go to any other rodeo and see the president of the rodeo with white gloves on, cleaning spots off of wine glasses like you saw Matt Carter this last week.
Now, I don't know if he got upset with me but I took a picture of him because Mary, they're with these crystal glasses and these white gloves, and they're trying to get all the spots, and they're looking at, and it always reminds me of the Gore Bush election with the hanging Chad,
Oh, yeah.
And so I had a picture of Matt looking like this in that glass, and I made him an 8x10 and dropped it off at his office. And whenever he dropped it off and they gave it to him, he said, "Get me Rick's phone number." So, because that picture may end up on T-shirts at the Christmas party. I'm not sure, but
well, and he's the kind of guy that he will do that, but he really doesn't want people to know that he does that.
I know it.
He wants to be involved with everything I've ever done with the rodeo in the last 4 years. He's always hands-on, and you don't see it. And one of the comments that Juliet made, so Juliet, my wife, just joined this year because I became the chairman, so she wants to be there to help me. But she's like, she came home. She was, I cannot believe that as a volunteer, I just interviewed with Matt and Brad and Rose, all these big important people. And she wrote him an email, and he's like, that's just what we do. We want to know who's volunteering for us, and we want them to know that we support them. I mean, I worked at the Houston Rodeo for like 21 years. And the first day I volunteered here, I was like, holy cow, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it could be this good. I mean, everything about the Fort Worth Rodeo is about their volunteers and what the rodeo can do for the community. Not so much at some of the other rodeos around here. You know, it's just, I mean, not here, but like in Texas, they're all about the bottom dollar. Fort Worth is nothing but about the community, what they give back to the kids, the FFA kids, the 4-H kids, and what they give back to the community.
Yeah, you know, it brings in millions and millions of dollars to the community. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, if not, I'm sure it's over $1 million go back to kids. You know, it's got to be over $1 million, because whenever they have the cattle sale, you know, whenever you have one of the cows sell for $200,000 or $300,000, it doesn't take many of those to make $1 million. But
Right.
But yeah, it's just a great organization and well run. And during the stock show, I was in one of the barns, and Matt came in, and he had a young child with him, probably 8 or 10 years old, and that child's father. And he was showing that child around. I mean, it wasn't like just a quick deal. I mean, he got down at that child's level and tell him all about the different things. You know, I got a whole series of pictures of him just being in touch with that young person. So they're just a great group of people. And our friend Manny Ramirez, he's really got a passion for veterans. One of his staff members, well, probably several of his staff members, come to roll call every month, and they're great volunteers. Dacry, and I don't know who are the other people from Manny's office.
Mary Gilman, I think Ruth. There's a couple of them and they come like every month. So, you know, we've developed a great relationship. Dacry, we depend a lot on Dacry to be one of the people that directs traffic. So,
yeah, and for the Fort Worth Stock Show, you know, they love volunteers, but right now, I was checked with Rose the other day. She's the volunteer coordinator. The volunteer applications are closed, I think, until the spring of 2026, and then they'll open them up again so people can volunteer, because it takes a lot of volunteers to do the stock show and rodeo.
It does take a lot of volunteers, and they're very cautious about who they let, because they want to keep the number down. You know, it's a unique show because a lot of the work is done and paid for by the city of Fort Worth, by the workers that do all the dirty work, let's say, the cleaning and everything like that. So the volunteers have an easy gig, but in the same sense, they want to keep it at a low number. They don't want just thousands and thousands of volunteers. They want people that really want to be involved.
Right.
And everybody that I've ever run into out, you know, volunteering, they really love being there and they want to be there.
Yeah. And if you have too many volunteers, what happens is that then people don't feel like they're being used. And so maybe I'll come back the next time you need a volunteer, maybe not, because I don't want to come and spend my time just sitting around wanting to do something. When you volunteer somewhere, you want to do something. You're not volunteering to stand there and look pretty.
Well, that's why you need to get military volunteers, because we know how to hurry up and wait.
That is true. We do know how to do that.
We have some more comments from Dacry. She's listening in. I guess she heard us talking about her. She said she sent an email to your team to invite to have a booth at their Tarrant County, whatever.
Yeah, that's the one on Veterans Day.
Okay.
Or on the at the stock show. That's the veterans event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Emily and Alicia are the two volunteers, and Mary's with the county judge's office. So thank you for all that information, Dacre. We appreciate you. So the stock show is coming up. It's going to be January 16th through February the 7th. And the Military Appreciation Day is going to be on the 2nd of February.
That's right.
And
that's the same day as the Veterans Expo. So they get in, I try to tell them, if you're able-bodied, get there, plan to spend the day. So last year, they had a bunch of tickets for the rodeo they were passing out there. So they found somehow they had some extra tickets and they were passing them out there. But if they get parked, come to the Veterans Expo, but then you can go do everything else too. It's all one, it's all included. There's no fee. And you'll get your register. They'll get to register, and we'll put that out too. We always send that out so they can register, and then they get a free lunch. And I got corrected the last time. Stop telling people it's a free lunch. It's a $10 or $12, whatever the amount is, towards your lunch. Well, you can certainly choose to get something that's within that cost, but needless to say, it pays for most of your lunch if you want to eat something more expensive.
Yeah.
So
partial free lunch, because my granddaddy always said, Rick, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. So
it is a great event.
Dacre did have a comment, said, I'm an Air Force brat. Sorry, Trent. So that must be why I know how to hurry up and wait. But anybody that's been in the military knows how to hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at the wine competition, I know a lot of the people that were pouring the wine, they had a lot of hurry up and wait. But the glass people, they didn't have much hurry up and wait.
No, we were constant going. It was enjoyable, but it was a constant going day. And the fun thing about when you're busy, the day goes by quickly.
And I don't know, some of the people from the Houston Stock Show come up to run the judging and the whole event. I don't know how in the world they figure all that stuff out, because all the bottles are coated and the little, they know where the wine's going. The judges, they have no idea what, other than it's red or white. That's all they know. And somehow they figure all that out. And I think Houston, they have about 3,000 bottles that come in every year for competition. So
yeah, theirs is giant. It's giant compared to Fort Worth, but it still accomplishes the same thing. And I was lucky enough to have Rose, so she took me back in the judging area just so I could see what they were doing. And because I was seeing it all go back there, but I was like, what's going on? So I was watching one guy, and he would sniff it. He was interesting. He would sniff with one side, sniff with the other side, shake it, drink it, and then he had his iPad and he was putting his stuff on. So Juliet started that day. She wasn't cleaning glasses at first. She was at that table you went to. They were marking all the numbers and all the codes on the wine glasses, and she goes, it was tedious work. Matt came over and he was scared he was going to mess something up, so he went to do the glasses instead.
But yeah, just watching those judges, they do all that stuff and then spit it out and then pour it in a bucket. And then they take the glasses back, and then you were pouring the empty, or not empty, because they only put about that much in each glass, pouring that in. And then some of the pours, they would have to pour the wine that was in the neck out and separate it from the bottle before everything, has to be open for 7 minutes before they can pour it, all kinds of rules. But some of those people that were in charge mixed some of that stuff. They mixed different, the neck wine, and made different kind of things with it. But they did have one with the wine that was poured out. They had the bucket blend. So I don't know. That didn't sound very appetizing to me.
No, and when I was pouring, emptying the glasses, after a couple of minutes, wine usually smells good, but when you mix a bunch of them, not so much.
Not so much at all. But that was a great event. We have another event coming up that's also a closed event, but in about 2 weeks, I think, we have the regional high school barbecue competition. And it's not quite as strict as the wine competition, but it's pretty strict. You know, they pick numbers the night before. At 6 o'clock, the students line up, and whoever got number one gets the first shot at getting the brisket and the chicken and all the stuff. And then they start cooking. And they only have a small window of time to get each item. You know, they do dessert, they do beans, they do chicken, then they do brisket. But if that 10-minute, 15-minute window, whatever, if they don't have their stuff there and it's not presented the right way, they're disqualified. So, but I'd like to be a judge for the brisket, not the beans, but just the brisket. But that's coming up. And, you know, just seeing the things that they do for our youth like that is amazing. So I'm glad that you are the chairman of the Military Appreciation Committee.
Thank you. I'm happy to. It's an honor to be able to be in this position, and hopefully, you know, we could just take it to newer and better heights. Because I mean, it's fantastic now, but there's so much more that can be done. And we're, you know, Rose Alvarez, who her dad was a veteran, she is just all on board. Everything that I talk about, she gets excited about, and she wants to figure out a way to do it. And Ashley's the same way, and Matt's the same way. So they're all excited about it. They just, I think I'm here for new ideas and there's a connection to the veteran community as well. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great rodeo season.
I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. No doubt.
None at all. Well, Trent, we thank you for being on the podcast today. And we really appreciate your service to our country, service to our community, and serving with the Cowtown Detachment for the Marines and for the stock show. So tell Juliet hi, go Army. And we'll see you at roll call.
Absolutely. I won't miss another one. Thank you guys for taking the time and just inviting me to be on. I really, really enjoyed this hour. It went by so quick.
It does go by quick, doesn't it?
It does go by quick, but just thank you for having me on, and just look forward to hanging out with you guys soon, either at roll call or whatever it is. And
Yep.
Rick, I expect to see you November the 4th at Sawgrass, by the way.
I'll consider that.
Put it on your calendar, Rick.
Look at my
We'll
calendar.
come find you.
But I'm so grateful that our paths crossed at that side door over there in the exhibit hall. So,
No, absolutely.
and thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Wow, another great American.
Yep. You know, I think it just continues to show. We say it all the time, right? That when people that serve their country can never get that service, you know, we always want to serve and give back. And you see it in him and in his wife. It's such a common thread that runs through veterans. You know, we served our country. When we finish serving in uniform, we're not really done serving. And he's not done serving.
No, not at all. You see people like Don and other older veterans that are not done serving.
Right. Yep. Quite the thing.
We had a good roll call. I unfortunately missed it, but we had good roll call. And who do we have this next month?
So let me tell you, the donut dollies were so well received. I know, Rick. I know. I'm sad that you missed it, because I know how much you loved having the ladies on the show. But wow, they got a standing ovation, maybe more than once. And before the lunch, they were out walking around. Joyce got there pretty early. Eileen was a little bit later. I think she had a little further to travel. but they got there and were out talking to the veterans and man, the especially the Vietnam guys, they were just overwhelmed and they loved those ladies. And I'm going to be putting out a thing. They do have a bill or I can't remember what it's called. I'd have to look at it again. But they have something going through Congress to get them awarded the highest civilian honor. And I'm going to send that out with the instructions on how to help them get our Congress people to back that bill and get it through so that they can be recognized for the work that they've done. Amazing feedback on that lunch. And then in November, so we had David Huntley lined up to do November, but then we got word that Doc Ballard, Medal of Honor recipient, was available on that day. And so we asked David, would you mind scooching a month? And then so we had to move Errol from December to March. But so we have moved David Huntley to December, and Medal of Honor recipient Doc Ballard will be our speaker in November. So I know that luncheon is going to go, those seats are going to go very fast.
You know, it's Saturday before the Sky Ball, I had the great honor to sit down with Doc Ballard and Major General Patrick Brady and talk about, they're both Medal of Honor recipients, but not so much talk about what they did to get the medal, but who they are.
Right.
And what their passion is. And, you know, those Medal of Honor guys have such a passion for teaching our younger people about the patriotism and about our heroes. So, you know, Doc, he's out there all the time telling his story and encouraging. All those Medal of Honor recipients are.
Yeah, they are. And our luncheon in November, because of Thanksgiving, is moved up. So our luncheon is actually November 14th. So that RSVP line opens this coming Monday at 9 in the morning. And then December moves up to the first Friday. So we are on a little bit shortened timeline on that. But, you know, in addition to what else Doc Ballard does, he has been personally paying for funerals of veterans who have no one else to pay for their funeral. He's been putting that out of his pocket. And so Rex, you know, we've had Rex, of course, Rex King on the show a couple of times, I think, him and his lovely wife, Donna Snow King. But Rex is trying to help him do a little fundraising by selling some buckles and doing some other things. But they're going to be working on that too. But that's Doc Ballard again. You serve and you just continue to serve, because we don't want those veterans that are alone and, you know, nobody else to take care of them. We don't want them not to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
So lots and lots of stuff going on. So
it's exciting.
that link on Monday.
Yeah, I'll be sure to make my reservation. Next month, November the 8th, is a Ride to Remember, and the proceeds from this, we had the fellows from the Leatherneck Motorcycle Club on last week talking about that. And if you go to airpowerfoundation.org, you can find out more about this Ride to Remember. It's a motorcycle ride. It's a poker run, and it should be a lot of fun. So that's one of the things that are coming up. Sky Ball, we just had the Sky Ball Saturday night. It was a lovely event. A lot of people there, a lot of great heroes there, and sure made a great impression on so many people.
Yeah, amen.
Well, Mary, I appreciate you hanging there today, and we look forward to next week. I think next week we're going to have some people that they rescue donkeys, and then they use those donkeys as therapy for veterans. So,
wow, very cool.
be another adventure and meeting some great people. So roll call, reservation lines opening next Monday. Be sure and check your email early. Check it early and often.
Or go to the website. You can just go there.
roll-call.org. And we will see you next week on